I've been wanting to start a large project recently, as I've never done one in survival, so that's the plan for today. It will also mean I have much more room to expand into, and I already have a few builds I want to make on it. And if you haven't seen the thumbnail, I should probably say that I'm building some large scale mountainous terrain, which is about 3 times the size of my entire base at the moment. I'll be building it in this large body of water, as there should be more than enough room. It will also go well with the overall image of my build from a distance. A big focus for this is going to be the composition. I want it to draw you in and give hints of where to go and explore, as it will get pretty full with details over time. Although thinking about all this terrain definitely makes me want to finish the terrain over there, but that's for another day. Up first is making an outline for I'll be placing the terrain, and then I'll do a bit of material gathering. After that, I'll show you how I went about designing the whole thing. The outline is complete, and the main reason I decided to fill in this section was so I have an area to strip logs, as you saw. Now you can get an idea for the scale as well, and how the large body of water now looks a lot less big. I've cleared out the outline over there, but I still need to clear a bit more in the middle. I also won't worry too much about blending the custom terrain to the existing area just yet, but I'll get around to it someday, hopefully soon. Flying back up, you can see that it will consist of 2 main sections, and I won't be filling the other one with moss. But now that everything is prepared, it's time to start designing. This is my creative world, and I'd say about 50% of my builds I design here first before bringing them over. But the first thing I did was make the water a solid block, so it's easier to work with. Then using these things, in combination with the raise tool from Axiom, a building mod, I started shaping the terrain. Before getting into this, I already made a structure a bit ago, which I finally wanted to use and will go onto these 2 cliffs. However, I won't be showing you that structure today. After the main terrain was done, I went in with smaller brushes to smooth out areas. These 3 rocks are key to the composition to push your view into the center. Going in by hand, I smoothed and tried to flatten areas to make them better to build on and more realistic. For areas which were too sharp of an incline, I added some cylinders and then smoothed them out to make a few small plateaus. Moving to the next section, I used the same technique from before of using rocks to push the viewer's eye, this time towards the river, which will then move the viewer's attention to the rest of the build. For this part, I made the terrain using a path tool, which is where I put down a bunch of points and the tool connects them all. The only issue with this is that it can look too perfect sometimes, so I usually roughen it out before smoothing it again. For this section, I thought this idea would look cool, with this large rock being held up by thin lines of rock, which has slowly been eroding over time. And after the terrain is shaped, it's time to texture it. To start, I always just mess around with whatever comes into mind. I didn't mind this blue to green and black, but it wasn't what I was going for, so I restarted, although I may use it in the future. I started by adding where the highlights would go. This was done by pretending to be the sun, and then selecting all the blocks I could see. I then made all the highlights moss, before going in with some brushes to add more moss in most flat areas, and wherever I thought it was needed. After that, I wanted to put in where the snow would be. I did it with a similar way to the highlights, but more precisely, and did most of it by hand. For any areas that had a large incline, I kept it grey concrete, as grass and snow doesn't really build up on such inclines. Using these tools isn't perfect, so I go over everything by hand, making sure it all makes sense, which is also the step that takes the longest. But I'm not going to spoil the entire build just yet. you have to wait for the fully textured version, which isn't just concrete, so it's time to start on it back in survival. The first mountain is complete, and you should now be able to get a feel for what the texturing and style I'm going for is. The most annoying part so far has been needing to switch between so many blocks. Sorry for the interlude, there's still a lot to go, but I was running low on materials, so I made sure to get extra this time.
There's a shape drawn on your shoulder. It seems to know what's up. There's a dragon on your shoulder. He seems to know an awful lot. The books he's got here about your favorite sounds haven't been touched since you moved on. There's a shape drawn on your bedside drawer. It seems to know what's wrong. There's a dragon on your bedside drawer. He seems to know it all. If you keep him up, he'll convince you your obsession's lost. There's a shape.
It's finally finished, well stage 1 at least, and the sun's perfectly setting behind it. I didn't expect to like it this much, but it's definitely my favourite terrain I've done in terms of shape, which I think is heavily to do with the focus on composition. Each part of it also flows into the next. This is the view I aimed for it to be seen at, and obviously these two spots will have builds on them. I made sure the river could fit a boat the entire way, so it's easy to access and adds a possible way to connect the rest of my base if, say, I continued the river to loop back to a different part of my area. You can see for the areas near the snow, I changed out the moss for pale moss. Under the snow layers, there is a slight gradient from snow to pale wood, and over here you can see the effect of the snow layers, making it all really smooth. I doubt it will be fun building on them though. The build does have a back that's fully textured, and for the most part the back of the left side is very mossy while the right is more rocky. You probably also notice there's no foliage, and certain parts such as the moss is a bit flat in texture. But don't worry, I'll be working on the build by hyper detailing small sections at a time. Under the mountains there is loads of space, which is so much opportunity for cave systems or a large creature maybe, but one thing at a time. I also have a small arch to put in against this rock, which flows with the shape of its curve. Just before that, however, I had some spare time, so I finally got around to doing two small house interiors at the dock. I haven't done an interior in a tight space for a very long time, so it was definitely a brain workout, even compared to my massive builds. These composters are filled with fish you can buy to use as bait, and I learned that people use pufferfish and even salmon as bait depending on what they're catching. Note that it may not be refrigerated though. I tried keeping the light dull to make it seem like a pretty old shop, but one of the old shops that only locals know about. But the neighbouring building is a small house. I once again kept it very tight. I used the pillager head as a lamp, which is a technique I've been doing for quite a while. Over here are some crab nets or pots stored along each shelf. These 6 little blocks, even though they have no purpose, were the most annoying ones, taking so many iterations to make it look okay. I also got to use some shelves, but also putting items in the shelves, which I haven't done before. In the bedroom, it gives off more of a beach look, with the sandy colours and bamboo flooring. You probably noticed it when I was walking in, but I used trapdoors for one side of the door. I did this so when walking to the moss farm you can see that the build has an interior, and you're invited in. Having a trapdoor means nobody should close it, and now you've seen those, the arch should be built. Here it is. I'll be connecting it and making it into a full build later, so it's nothing special at the moment. It does break up the area though. But with that, thanks for staying, and I hope you can come again sometime.